Hi, I'm Dennis, and welcome to our episode of the LGBTQ Voice. I am here today with Dan Everton, who is going to be speaking about the upcoming, is it 2020 now?
Yep, 2020.
The 2020 winter film series, which we're all very, very excited about. I know we have a great roster, but I'd like for Dan to speak a little bit about himself first and give us a rundown.
All right, thank you again for Dennis for having me here. I'm really happy to be here.
We're excited.
I'm Dan, as you guys know. I'm a local historian here, born and raised in New Bedford, and I'm queer myself and also trans. And so about 2017, some people came up to me and were like, you know, we really want to do something for the winter, and we wanted to have something LGBTQ focused. Right. And I was a bit of a film nerd, and I do some filming on the side. So they definitely wanted to approach me and see what could I do. And I immediately was like, film series? Right. I mean, Provincetown has one, Providence does, Boston as well. And
the Vineyard.
Yes, the Vineyard. And they've always been really successful. And so I thought, why not focus on that? Because film can really tell a lot about different aspects of LGBTQ life. It's not just, when people think of LGBTQ, they just think of that one monogram, rather than thinking like, oh, we face things like death and dying, or being older, or we started with documentaries, but now we're going in narrative films, and we're mixing some documentary and narrative this season. Right. So our mission has always been to promote LGBTQ visibility in the city, though it is called the New Bedford Winter Film Series, but we really service the whole South Coast. And we also wanted to provide networking opportunities for LGBTQ people to see what resources are available. So it's about, I think, 8 to 9 partnered organization like that comes together and helps organize this, which is really cool. Like, many partnerships don't exist like that. Right. And so the fact that we can do that is pretty cool. And
well, again, because it's called the New Bedford Film Series, but the outreach is much more broader, which is great, and I think that's why there's maybe more of people jumping on the bandwagon. And just from personal experience, I think just in general, the committee and the group were really getting out there much more stronger. Just I think in the past year and a half, 2 years or so. I mean, it's really, there's more events going on. And I mean, when I heard about the film series, I was just, because
that's how we met, I think.
I think it is. I'm a film whore. Yeah. So it's like, really, I love movies. I love any comedy, drama, like documentary. And so, you know, when I heard about it, it's so exciting, you know, to have that, because we didn't have that growing up here. No. When back in the early 80s. So it was, you know, it's a very big step. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, we've got 4 films. Am I correct?
Yes. Okay. 4 films. And in the
past,
how's
the breakdown? Yeah, like I think it's different from. Is it structured differently?
It is structured differently. So in the past, if you are a fan of the film series, you probably are like, "What is going on?" We did a survey actually because it's our 3rd year. We can kind of flex and do some things differently. And most film series are kind of like over a weekend or a week long, but we were different in that we did the last Sunday of every month in January, February, March, and April. Now we kind of did a condensed model. Right. So we are starting the last Sunday of January like normal, and that's January 26th. But then we're going to be showing a film every other week, ending on March 8th. Right. So we have January 26th, February 9th, February 23rd, if I'm correct. I sometimes forget how to count. Okay. How to count. And then March 8th. Right. And so we're excited. Our lineup is pretty exciting. So we got rights to do Rocket Man. I know. And so we're going to be going right into Elton John. I'm trying to push for us to do an Elton John costume contest. I know I'm going to be dressed up. So if you come dressed up, like, we will be very happy for that.
Well, that's well. First, let's. Where is it? It's at the same location.
Same correct? Location, the New Bedford Whaling Museum on 18 Johnny Cake Hill. Yep. So you just come right on in. It's free, so it's not like you get ticketed or have to pay for the for the film. You just come right on in. Bring yourself. Bring a friend. That's always great. And
what's the capacity per each?
I believe it's 150.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so it is quite on the higher end. Before, if you were like a follower from the beginning, our roots started at the national park. So that film theater was only like 50, And we immediately saw that we needed a bigger space. People like poured out in support for us, and also were just interested in the films we were showing. And we were at max capacity well into April. Yeah.
So back to the films. So the first one is Rocket Man.
It is indeed confirmed. We have just finalized everything today. Rocket Man is indeed our first film. It stars the very handsome Taron Egerton. Everyone loves him.
He just completely stole the movie.
He did. And he does a really good Elton.
Right.
Like,
well, they worked really closely together. I even saw a live duet they did. I don't know which music show it was, but it was like, I don't know if it was Australian TV or something like that, but they both sang. It was amazing.
I didn't realize he actually sang. I thought like when I first watched it, I was like, they have a good lip syncer. And then I was like, oh no, he did sing it.
Well, the person who did Rocket Man did also Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes.
Which was I was actually, I'll be honest, I was very fearful after Bohemian Rhapsody, thinking, oh please, Elton, because I have a heart more for Elton music.
I do. I was actually a Queen kid, so like growing up, Queen was more my thing. Mostly because like my parents and my dad especially was more like punk rocky kind of thing, and disco wasn't really like heard of in the house. My uncles had disco. And I do love disco now. Like most of my music collection is house music now.
I love
it. And so I never really got into Elton John, but Bohemian Rhapsody really upset me because it was like, and I think it was in part because Elton John had more creative control for this film. And I think that made a really big impact because he was able to not only express himself in the film, but really show like a rawness to the film. And
the empathy. I experienced this. This is how I felt, and so Taron, being such the amazing, not just handsome but amazing actor, was able to feed off of that. I think. I never realized though Bernie Taupin was so. First, I didn't realize he was straight, but the relationship, because you still see his name around, and it's like wow, and it's like
because I didn't know that either. That the whole like spoiler alert, like. That relationship happened. I didn't know. I remember growing up knowing Elton John was gay. I didn't know about his life prior when he was closeted. And so that was kind of, as a kid of the 90s, it's kind of interesting to see like, oh, okay. Like after the fact. Because I think he came out the same time Ellen did. Or around the same time period, if I'm wrong.
Which early 90s.
Early 90s. Because I remember.
Her show was on.
Yep. Because I remember seeing that episode when I was a small child, and it being like a big deal, and then I remember just having the conversation about Elton John around that time too.
Well, it would have been totally like a slap in the face with all his ornate costumes and this and that, and everyone being like, "Oh, he's gay," and turned around, "Well, I'm married with 6 kids." People would have been like, "What?" Who knows? But very excited about this one, and then the next one.
The next one is a documentary.
Yes,
it is the Bayard Rustin story,
which. I'm speechless because I'm ignorant to this part. I did not even know who he was, and I'm like blown away about this documentary.
Some people really don't know who he was, or they have seen his picture and don't realize who he is. Exactly. So Bayard Rustin, for the folks that don't know, is he was an advisor to Martin Luther King during the Civil Rights Movement, and he was really instrumental in bringing nonviolent action to it. So when we think of if you've seen imagery of the Civil Rights Movement, where, especially the Greensboro Four, we have one of the Greensboro Four that lives in New Bedford, actually. And the scene where they're kind of at the counter sitting down and like food is getting thrown on them, people are yelling at them, but they're not reacting, was really one of the key things that Bayard brought to the table. And so it was kind of a technique that continued on through the Civil Rights Movement all the way to Selma. And he was a gay man and people knew he was gay. So it wasn't like a big secret amongst them, but it became a bigger secret in the scope of like national attention onto the Black Civil Rights Movement. And so he's gone like kind of under the wayside for some parts of it, but we kind of know him fondly. So and actually his apartment is on the National Historical Registry. So I think they're going to be trying to like memorialize it that way. And so this movie, the documentary, kind of goes through his life, and it's called Brother Outsider. And so it really plays on the fact that he was really instrumental, but also still felt outside because of his homosexuality.
and when when I was watching the clips, I haven't seen the full documentary, but the name just was like, this is perfect. Because he is the outsider, and it's so interesting. He's always in the background, right behind the Dr. Martin Luther King.
You see him in every
but
picture.
He's always right behind him in a sense, and he is that outsider, which every person I think that is part of the LGBTQ has felt like an outsider at one point in their lives, or you know. But I mean, I was just blown away when you told me about it, and I looked it up, and I was just like, wow.
And it's going to be a big deal because we're going to be doing a big voter registration push. Right. Because the primaries in Massachusetts, at least, the voter registration deadline is February 11th. So if you're not registered, but we're going to have a great team there that's going to be helping out. We have a social justice committee at the South Coast LGBTQ Network, and they'll be helping us out. And if you need to get registered, you can get it registered at the film series. So that's pretty kind of neat.
And it's on a political side, it doesn't take a lot of time. You just register and that's it.
Yep. You know? And if you are not sure, you can check the registry as well right there. So we have a good crack team that's like on top of things. And of course, it makes sense that we're doing it with Bayard Rustin's story because his fight really did help with voter registration and getting a black vote allowed. And so
civil rights in general.
Exactly.
Which we're struggling as a community right now with.
I know, with SCOTUS and everything like that going on. I know that's kind of dating ourselves in this episode, but yeah, like they just convened,
right?
And so we might not hear something until like well after the film series, but I know it's going to be on everyone's mind during the film series.
Of course. And the next film.
This one's going to be a tearjerker.
Yeah.
I've set aside money on the budget to buy tissues.
Oh God. It's a difficult one. It's Boy Erased.
Boy Erased, yeah.
I saw that in the theater, and I was really just. I was well aware of what it was, so I wasn't going into it like not knowing what this conversion therapy and all of that is. But just hearing it from the person who it was based on.
Yes, he wrote a memoir first, and then he.
I had my cheat sheets.
Yeah, he wrote a memoir first, and
Gary Conley.
In
2016. Yes.
And his interviews, I remember just watching those. So like his interviews were always very emotional themselves, and so I didn't watch it in the theaters. I had to wait until like it was on Canopy so I could watch it in the privacy of my home, and so that way I could cry. But it's about gay conversion therapy, his coming out to his family, but really being kind of forced out, and the subsequent fallout and going into camps and what did it feel like. And it left a really lasting impact on him. And I think this film was very cathartic for him, but also like it's a very painful movie.
Yes.
But we're excited to be showing it, and we're excited to kind of highlight something that I think is getting more attention.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think there is a documentary, if you've not seen it, it kind of really takes the place inside a conversion therapy camp, because many of them are actually overseas. That's the other thing too. Like they are in different Bermuda Islands or in Costa Rica, and they're rented.
I didn't know that.
And they're just rental spots by the church.
Right.
So it's just like a rental fee they pay, and they just show up there. Right. And it's called not Jesus Freak, Kidnapped by Jesus. And it's like a lot of it was really terrible. And I remember they use the same tactics as that guy that would get people out of cults.
Right.
I don't know. He was this famous guy. I remember on Dateline or whatever.
I saw, yeah. Exactly.
And so they use a lot of that same tactics where they're just like, they come in the night and they take you, and it's very scary. Like it is abuse and trauma. So like if you are coming for that day, like expect to be like in it. It's
what's very scary is that the movie and this story, it's current. It's not like it was like 30 years ago or 40 years. It literally was like 2 years ago, when 2016. So it's like, that's really like, it hit home, and it's all over the papers now, and every state has something, you know, that is going up, you know, should they allow it, should it not be? I mean, it's I don't know. It was a really good movie, and it really did open a lot of eyes, I think, to a lot of people who saw it. And he's really excellent in it, Lucas. Hedges.
Yes, Lucas Hedges and Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman, of course. But Russell Crowe, I got so mad at him. But you can...
Does he do...
You see there's like a struggle
yes.
in him because it's his son and he loves his son, but it's this
he does
hypocritical faith that he's sort of judging everything on, and it's just,
Russell Crowe can play a very mean straight dad.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, he's a great actor in general, but like, he tapped into that role.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, yeah, like, we got rights for that movie to show as well, and that was like a big yay.
And then you said there's a possibility maybe of like some speakers or something possibly.
Yes.
I mean, that's just out there right now, but
so after every film we typically do have a panel of speakers. We're currently locking down some people, so I can't really name too many names. I know that it's going to be thematic as usual, so we usually have people who are from the community or professionals that are within the community that deal with the kind of content. So like we are having some friends who are clinical substance abuse professionals for Rocket Man, and also some musicians, and just to talk about that kind of lived experience. And for Bayard Rustin, we're going to have a lot of civil rights workers that are right here from New Bedford that have worked in that time period, and also some current people that are doing the work now today. And for Boy Erased, we are trying to reach out. Honestly, if you have experienced conversion therapy or are interested in being a panel member, like definitely approach us and like let us know. We do give a little tiny fee for you so that of your work, but we are trying to reach out to people of faith and also like that are LGBTQ affirming. So like I think it's James Episcopal Church or St. James Episcopal Church or St. Peter's.
Oh, and yeah, St. Peter's is
St. Peter's.
Yes.
Yeah, so St. Peter's, the United Church of Christ, Unitarian Universalist Church down in New Bedford, like those are all really gay, open, affirming churches. So we really wanted to bring that aspect in of like, look, there is a place for people in faith that are LGBTQ.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. St. Peter's Episcopal is definitely one of those. It's just I totally lost my train of thought now, but. Yeah, it's gone. It eluded me. It was a mix between Lucas Hedges and Elton John, and I don't know where I got mixed up between. But we do. It'll hit me in 5 seconds. But we do have one more film.
Yes. So we have like all these heavy hitters,
but the lineup is just—it's so good. But
yes, like it. So as someone who has like kind of organized and film it, organize and pick the films with the committee. Deciding on like a good flow is like a very curated kind of thing. So I always feel like I whip out a curator hat when I make these kind of advisements. But Signature Move is a really recent film.
Yes. And
it won a few awards in, I believe, in some of the indie kind of things going off on the West Coast. Yes, Sundance. I think he did. Yeah, so Sundance, it was presented there, and they won some film awards there. And it's a rom-com that's like not usual. Like we don't really have rom-coms in the LGBTQ film series, like or the genre of LGBTQ film. Most of it is like kind of tragic comedy or like very sad comedy or like the overly top campy type thing, like the Eating Out series or whatever. So Signature Move is really interesting because it deals with first generation people that have come over. There's, I believe she's a Pakistani woman.
She's Pakistani.
Pakistani and an Mexican-American woman. And they meet by happenstance and have a romance. And, you know, dealing with that generational conflict of like, oh, my parents, but it ends up not being that much of a conflict, which is really surprising. And seeing how that family dynamic changes and shifts is really moving, both as like a film genre, but also just as a story as well.
I love how the one clip I saw was how they meet. They meet over a beaver.
Yes,
which I thought was really, really good. And the woman who plays the lead character's mother, she's just recently widowed or something like that, and so she's playing the matchmaker. And so that really does add a lot of humor into it, and edges off like that the tenseness that could come throughout it, but it doesn't really.
No.
And what's the main focus? The wrestling.
What?
The wrestling, the lucha.
Yes, the wrestling. Okay. So like, I am
Signature
a fan.
Moves.
Yes, I am a fan of Mexican wrestling. Yeah. So like,
Lucha Libre.
Yes, yeah. Lucha Libre and luchadores, and it's highlighted in here as kind of like not in a campy kind of way.
Right.
It was like this really therapeutic way that she could just go off, because she's a lawyer, so like she's an immigration lawyer,
very current right now.
Yes, and we are actually going to be, our panelists are going to be kind of focusing on that as well. So we're going to talk about immigration law. So like, it's a fun movie. We're going to talk about some serious topics, but I really liked the different types of contexts we could pull from that movie.
Right.
And, as a first generation person myself, like having that kind of conflict with your family expectations and like your grandmother asking you, like, when are you going to get married?
Right.
And all this other stuff. Yeah.
I have an uncle that still does that. And I'm like, okay. But, yeah, I'm really excited to see that. I think I'm just going to end up, if I can find it, like on Netflix or something like that. And just,
it is on Amazon Prime. Like,
Amazon
so,
Prime.
like, to be honest, you can see all these movies on Amazon Prime or any like Netflix streaming or anything like that. But I would really encourage you guys to like come.
Because it's a community seeing it together. And it's, what's better than like having a discussion after something that it could have moved you in a positive, a negative, a happy, a sad, but that's what films are all about. It's entertainment, and it's really to bring a group of people together and hopefully have some type of social dialogue after.
Yeah.
And
that's probably one of the best feedbacks that we usually get is like, I really like the discussion afterward. I really like that we were able to talk about this more, or I had questions after watching the film because I had no idea about like this case or the fact that transgender people have to deal with this or whatever. What can I do? And so I like that our community is able to present like information, but also provide an avenue for like further inquiry.
Right, exactly. I was actually looking for for my those big Elton John, those sunglasses. And I think my niece has a big green pair of them, and I couldn't find them. I was gonna like just pull them out when you were talking about Rocket Man. But I do like the little theme. If you want to come as a character,
come as Elton John. Like, I am gonna be dressing up.
Okay.
And if I say I'm dressing up, and some of you in the community know how I dress up, you will be dazzled. So
I'm coming as a Mexican wrestler. I'm gonna wait for signature moves and just maybe slide in there like
that'd be kind of funny. And yeah, I'm just really amped about it. It's
body slam some people. Get out of my way! It's my seat.
That would be kind of funny. I mean, legally we can't have it, but but it would be kind of funny. And something else, just as a kind of a sidebar, we do show films outside of the winter time. We have shown a film during Pride for our films for National Transgender Day of Remembrance. That's actually how kind of the film series kicked off, was me showing a film on the National Transgender Day of Remembrance in November. So we're keeping that tradition, and myself, the Art Museum, and the National Park will be showing the film Call Her Ganda. It is about the case of the New Bedford Marine who killed a transgender woman out in the Philippines. Right. And so the documentary is beautiful. I was able to become friends with the host, the lead person kind of interviewing everyone, and the filmmaker, PJ Ravel. So through that friendship, I was able to get permission to show the film for this November, coming up November 20th at the National Parks from 6 to 8. You can come and see that film. We'll have discussion afterward. But it's National Transgender Day of Remembrance is a pretty solemn event, so it's not going to be too happy. But, definitely if you want to learn more, watch a great documentary. Last time when we started, it was Marsha P. Johnson, Life and Death of. Netflix.
I used to see her in New York all the time outside of Stonewall, the bar. She's amazing. Loved her.
Yeah. And so it's sad, like those kind of tragedies that happen. And so we'd like to highlight it. And the National Park is really a great partner. The National Park even did a really, Stonewall is a national park. Yep. And I think some people are still getting used to remembering that, or thinking that, like, oh yeah, it is a thing. And yeah, so honestly, if you are free on those Sundays from 1 to 4, come on down to the Whaling Museum and have a good time.
And I think you made a very good point, Dan, is that if you've seen the film but you want to see it in a group, in a community setting, because you might have questions or something, just come and I'm sure there'll be somebody there that you can speak with, and if you have a question or just want to say, oh my God, I experienced this, and you want to share something, that's what we're here for. That's why this LGBTQ community that we have here in the South Coast is here, for people that have questions or want to share or want to embrace or want to like engage or vent, you know what I mean, or just be part of something. And that's really, that's why I'm excited to be part of the film series specifically.
Yes.
Because, we got to get Auntie Mayman though.
Yes.
We have to do, with Rosalind Russell though, we have to do that one, honestly, somehow.
Yes.
And then maybe next year.
Front cover, it was a Chinese American film, and it's a really cute one. It has a surprise ending, but I think you'll like it because it's on Amazon Prime, if I remember correctly.
Okay. I'm pushing for Wedding Banquet.
Yes.
That's still my favorite.
Yes, of course we are. And there's a lot more. There's also some Thai dramas that I'm into that are queer specific, and I'm just like, yay. Right. And we still haven't decided what we're going to do for Pride, but it is still 2020 Pride is a little bit of ways away. But I'm sure it's going to blow.
Well, in some people's heads, it's really like just around the corner.
Yes.
But
well, it's Gay Christmas, which is Halloween.
What is Gay Christmas?
Halloween.
Oh,
Halloween is Gay Christmas, and then it's Pride.
Okay.
But yes. But yeah, so like honestly, be on the lookout. Yeah. We are on Facebook, so if you look up the New Bedford LGBTQ Winter Film Series, we're there. Follow us. You can,
and we'll have a copy of the link onto our website also along the border. And then I think that's about it.
I think that's about it. Thank
and
me
it's
again.
Free, everybody.
Yes.
It's free, and it's a Sunday. Who wants to
free.
be sitting around by themselves on a Sunday? Just come and chill out and see a good movie.
Yeah.
And see
in a nice, comfortable theater.
Costumes each.
I'm not gonna wear it each time, but I do dress up really nice in those. I tend to have good outfits. You can attest to that.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get Taryn to be my date.
Oh my goodness!
Call his publicist. We'll see what goes.
We've been trying. Like, if you know Elton John,
I do. I've hung out with David and Elton for many years. I used to go to his Golden Globe parties in L.A.
See, I want to send him a little postcard of our thing. And like tell him like, hey,
I can maybe help you with that off the record later.
We'll
Okay. Well, anyways, we're gonna wrap this up, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Dan, for coming on.
Thank you again for having me.
And please just follow us, the link, and then watch the show, and then come to the movies. Thank you.